Hello, I'm back with another video, and this video is basically me examining what will happen after the almost surely inevitable video game crash. Now, Jamie Butterworth, aka Butterworthy, from the Gamers at Large podcast, and now he has his own YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Has already made an excellent video talking about how the crash is coming and, the catalyst for it. I'm going to talk about what it's going to look like when it happens and what I feel will be the end results for a lot of companies. Let's talk about the big three first. Microsoft's Xbox is going to be... Well, let me take that back. Before I get into the big three, let's talk about how it's going to look in general. This crash is not going to be like the 80s crash that Atari precipitated with its flooding the market with shitty games that destroyed consumer confidence in video game console manufacturers. It's not going to be like that. What you're going to see is major third-party publishers are going to go down. Because major third-party publishers are going to go down, and primary console, first-party, the big three are not going to have the money to really buy all of these IPs. So a lot of IPs are just going to go into the ether. Either that or they're going to be bought. More money is going to be spent buying the IP than they actually have to develop it. So, I mean, either way, it's not going to look good. Microsoft is going to be up a real creek without a paddle because they rely almost solely, like 90% of their console sales are so that people can play third-party games on their system. So Microsoft, the Xbox hasn't been profitable, and this is going to be a death blow for it. So, yeah. And yes, I believe that it will happen in this generation if things don't change dramatically. So, yeah, the Xbox brand, done. Done. They'll try and sell it to someone, maybe. If we're lucky, someone who actually knows a thing about manufacturing consoles will buy it, like Sega. But probably not, and we'll probably wind up with a dead system. It rolls off the tongue saying that Microsoft would have a dead system. But anyway, Sony is in a little bit better shape than Microsoft in terms of having IPs that they can use to support their own system. But make no mistake, they also are in bad financial trouble with, a lot of issues going down. Mainly speaking, Sony lost. Sony, despite the PS2 outselling both the Xbox, the original Xbox, and the GameCube, it still didn't make as much money for Sony as the original PlayStation. Because the original PlayStation was dirt cheap for Sony to make, and they sold it for like $250 when it first came out. And so, like 250, I want to say 250 when it first came out. So, but it cost them like $100 to make, so they were still making good money for it. And it was a CD player, I want to say. It was a CD player. Then the PS2 came out. The technology got more expensive. It was a DVD player, which cost $150 to make, and then with all the other components to make the thing play video games, that was like $150. So they were basically breaking even and selling the PS3 for like $300. Their big thing was getting the unit in your house and then selling you their Sony CDs, Sony DVDs, proprietary technology, and the games. So, I mean, they didn't make, the GameCube for Nintendo even though it sold like 22 million over its lifetime, um, still made more money for Nintendo than the PS2 made for Sony. So Sony, and then we all know about the PS3. So basically, Sony during this inevitable crash will be in better shape than Microsoft, but that isn't saying much in terms of Microsoft's Xbox brand, because no money person in their right mind would keep a part of their business around that's constantly bleeding money, They get rid of it, and Sony. I mean, Sony has become more westernized, so they aren't going to buy it either. So, they might buy a few IPs they think they can get away with, but nothing really major or, boosted. Not enough to really make much of a difference to the crash. Nintendo has the biggest amount of money hanging around in the bank that they could do something with, but Nintendo's been pissed on by various companies, by various third-party companies. So Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo would save any of these people at all, ever. So basically of the big three, Microsoft would be up shit's creek without a paddle. Sony would be barely treading water if they were lucky, knock on wood. And Nintendo would actually be the only one in any real position to do anything, but good luck to see if they'll do that, because Nintendo is very frugal in nature. They spend money when they have to, but only on things that they absolutely have to. Which is why their marketing isn't like $200 billion. Unlike Sony, which is why their marketing isn't like $100 billion, unlike Sony and Microsoft, which have spent huge amounts of money putting Sony and Microsoft commercials everywhere. Movie theaters, TV, and commercial. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, the third parties that I mentioned. Activision would go under. Because right now, all they have is World of Warcraft, and Battlefield. Not Battlefield, Call of Duty. And frankly speaking, these two franchises are old. These franchises are beginning to suffer franchise fatigue. World of Warcraft is losing subscribers. They're still profitable, but not like they were back in the day. Call of Duty is release over release losing people who are buying it. It's getting less of a return. Is it still profitable? Yes, but not like it used to be. 2K might be able to weather it out because they have GTA and their 2K baseball and basketball games. So we might get something from that. But the Western companies, Square Enix would be in deep trouble. Deep trouble. Capcom would be in trouble. Sega might be able to weather it out because they kind of put their games everywhere, so they kind of have a and believe it or not, a lot of their money doesn't come from video gaming, but from their Sammy holdings, which are like those pachinko parlors and gambling machines in Japan. So let's see, what other third parties? Bethesda would probably go back to PC gaming solely because they refuse to put any of their games on Nintendo consoles, and since Nintendo and Sony would be the only two companies left if they were still in the Nintendo would probably definitely still be in the gaming business. Sony might try and pare back their gaming division. So basically, we're left with the big three. One of the big three has dropped out, so now it's two. One of which is paring back their gaming. So your next PS4 won't have, your next PlayStation device won't have any high-tech technology. It'll either be pure gaming or something that you hook to it that's already built into the TV. Okay. Nintendo will still make a home console. It'll probably be something that is almost very much part and parcel with the handheld that they make to help boost their handheld and their console sales. But other than that, that's it. So, what would this world look like? What would we have? Nintendo would definitely get more third-party support because, I mean, any third parties left would need the sales. You'd see a lot more games on Nintendo handhelds from third parties, which, I mean, you don't see a lot of Western third-party developers on the Nintendo handheld, even though the 3DS is kicking everything's ass. I've stated in an earlier video that the 3DS has its foot lodged so far up the Vita's ass that when Sony coughs, they make that sound Mario makes when he jumps, ding, ding, you know, that sound. Okay, that's how far 3DS has its foot wedged up the Vita's butt. But I mean, will Sony actually do something about that? Nintendo's next handheld would probably do the same thing, because Nintendo basically started the modern console market, okay, with the NES, okay? Then they also started the handheld market with the Game Boy, okay? Nintendo did a lot of manipulative things in the home console market that, I mean, things have changed, other players in the market, they've lost market share. But when it comes to the handheld market, Nintendo has wrote the book on making successful handhelds, okay? All of these handhelds that have come out fallen by the wayside, but Nintendo shit still going on, okay? So basically what I'm saying is that at this point in time, Nintendo's after the crash, Nintendo's support from third parties would increase because they're the only game in town. Sony would probably drop out of the handheld market at this point because the Vita has been such a raging success. I'm being facetious, by the way. So Sony is going with their PS4. By the next 5 or 6 years, Nintendo will have put out their next home console and probably their next handheld. I don't know what it's going to be. I never know what to expect from Nintendo. Okay, probably they might bring back the Game Boy, except they'll call it something, I don't know, the Geneon, I don't know, and it'll be a device that you can hook in with your home console. Maybe there's I don't know what to expect from Nintendo. They always shock me. I don't know. I was shocked with the Wii. I was shocked with the Wii U. I don't know where they're going, but it'll probably be something that I'm gonna buy. Sony will probably go to, as I said, putting their units into the TV. So it'll be like a part and parcel thing. Like, you get a Sony TV, it comes with a gameplay system built into it. So maybe they subsidize it because you're getting the TV, and they hit you with subscription fees to cover it. So you get PS Plus for $50 a year, and you get all these games, blah 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 blah. You can buy the disc, blah 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 blah. That's what I'm thinking for the future for Sony. Third parties, EA would be fucked. EA would definitely be fucked because EA has burnt so many bridges. It's not even funny. No more Maddens. No more Madden just from EA. So maybe someone will come out with something new that's better. That's generally how I'm thinking it's gonna look. Could be wrong. If you have any ideas about how the post-crash will look, leave it in the comment section below. If you have any ideas of, if I'm wrong, tell me why. Remember, comment section below. I'll I'll leave it. I'll leave. So once again, this topic was spurred by Jamie Butterworth's excellent video talking about the inevitable video game crash. I'll leave a link to his YouTube page below, plus the video itself. And keep up the good work. I'll see you guys after Christmas.